Hey, welcome back, everyone.
All right. All right, everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a good little break there. So now we are going to have a panel with our old school growers. So we have Nancy Redfeather, Michelle Carrillo, Breton Price, Glenn Teves, and I believe Evan Ryan hopefully is here. And we're gonna spend the first 25 minutes or so, 5 minutes more or less for each of these folks to give us an introduction to themselves and tell us about their farming operation and how seed fits into it. And then what are the biggest lessons that you've learned in your time growing seed? So we haven't heard from Evan at all yet. You want to start us off, Evan?
Sure. Will you ask those questions again? I got distracted getting myself unmuted. So
just introduce yourself. Tell us about your farming operation and how seed fits into it. And then what are the biggest lessons you've learned in your time growing seed? 5 minutes.
Cool. Right on. Well, I'm growing over here on the island of Maui, up in Makawao town, a little bit uphill. We're at 2,100 feet elevation, right between the windward and the leeward side. So we, other than this year, we get a lot of rain in the winter time and very dry in the summertime. And I got into seed growing because I'm a farmer. And on our land right now, we have about 2.5 acres of vegetables in production, about 400 fruit trees and chickens and bees, and really just started as a hobby seed saver, just like grabbing seed off everything that I could find when I'd walk people's farms or land anywhere. Just like the curiosity, botanical curiosity is kind of what led me into it. And while I was grabbing all this seed, I'd say probably about 50% of what I was gathering was getting planted. It would end up like sitting in little bowls in my house, and some would get planted. Sometimes I'd forget what it was. I resonate with the labeling thing, because I wouldn't always label it. And I'd be like, I remember I got that from Jay's garden. And then time would go by and I'd be like, where did these bean seeds come from? Wasn't quite sure. But I started, I got involved with the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative pretty early on. And what really inspired me beyond like this, this local food movement and seed sovereignty and claiming rights, like our human rights to have access to seed and locally adapted seed, and particularly, seed that could stand the challenges, the unique challenges we're dealing with here in Hawaii, was the community energy behind seed saving. And like so many people on this call that I've gotten to know so well, that I'm just like so enthused at these relationships with incredible people. And when we started hosting plant and seed exchanges over here on Maui, just like the people that would show up, just like, these seedy people, these like unique, garden-oriented, community-oriented, good-hearted people, is really what led me in that direction to like keep following that path. And really grateful I have, because also with it has come a wealth of information about seed saving. One, to see that like ways that I was seed saving along the way weren't always best practices, so to speak. So I've gotten to like evolve my core practices and routines around seed saving so that they could be really supportive and productive of a healthy agricultural model for all of us here in Hawaii. And as far as how it fits into my farm system, sometimes it's challenging because I'm a production farmer, and the bed space is really valuable for crops. And what I've learned over the years is there's certain things, such as growing out a lettuce. I had curated the variety of the canasta lettuce that we have being sold through the Hawaii Seed Growers Network, and the second year that I went to grow that out for seed for the network, it takes like so long for this to bolt. It's so heat resistant. It's an incredible variety. But after about 3.5 months of being in ground and taking up all this bed space, it was like 2 weeks away from harvest. And then came the rain. and, just washed away the seed crop. And it was like, wow, like that long of a period of time that it took up the bed space. And I didn't even get seed for myself, let alone enough to share with the network. And so the way that we found for seed to work its way into our farm, particularly with the wet weather we can get in the winter, is one, to grow it out in the summertime. And the other is we primarily focus on seeds that we can also participate in the harvest of the crop itself. So that's things like tomatoes and cucumbers that work really well for us, because we can both get the crop and the seed from the crop. And I think right now we maybe have about 15 varieties or so on the Seed Growers Network site. And some of them are dry crops like Tulsi basils and cilantro and stuff that routinely go to seed over a longer period of time and can dry out on the plant, and so aren't as prone to getting washed away in the rain or moldified, fungified. And yeah, and that's all. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Evan. Breton, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. All right. Aloha, everyone. Thank you all for coming out today and being interested in seeds. My name's Breton Price. I am I teach at Go Farm in Hilo at Alai as a coach and also a consultant for Go Farm. But mainly I like to stay at home at my home place, Milk and Honey Farm, with my wife, Michelle, who you have met here on the call. And yeah, I've been a grower and a farmer on the Big Island for about 18 years now. And my foundation has been in production farming, agroforestry, and as a dairyman. So my seeds, we have this conversation with my seedy friends here of like, oh, how, Hawaii is so amazing how quickly we can get seed back, and we can do multiple generations within a season. And I always, like, in my head, I always kind of like laugh about it and think about my cows when I'm like, wow, 15 years, I finally starting to see what I'm looking for. So, seed, I think of seed like that, of, the long game in that way, and the work that we're doing, the long game. And yeah, my inspiration into the Seed Network really came out of the need for seed that we were finding as growers. And I didn't have like a lot of passion and inspiration about it. It was like, my wife, Michelle, was like, we need to grow more seed. And Lynn was like, you guys need to grow this seed. And Lynn would always be throwing seed at me and giving me more things to do. Lynn and Michelle always giving me more things to do. And I just like, okay, I'll do it, and over the last few years, I've really been able to kind of decide for myself what seeds really inspire me to grow. And it's really been a wonderful process as a grower to really identify these varieties that I associate with and I really deeply enjoy and passionate about growing. Things like the Ka'ala soybean, or the Ka'ala pepper, and the Ka'ala soybean, and the Koba onion. I've become real passionate about these crops. And a handful of others. The pigeon pea in particular has been really creating an alliance with that, and some of these corns that Jay's sending over, I'm excited about playing with them. But I really resonate with a bit what Evan was saying. One of the challenges and difficulties we face here, and as growers in East Hawaii, is the rain and the unpredictability of it. And we've the advice that I share with students at Go Farm overall with farming, and in particular about saving seed, is you really got to have such a thick skin to get into farming. You got to be so tough. You got to be the most resilient seed, because there's gonna be so many failures, but ultimately those failures are creating your success, and thickening you up to handle, like, okay, I can get through. I'm gonna do this lettuce variety again, or I lost this whole crop, I'm gonna try it again. There's been times where we've had so much invested into these crops, and so much time and energy and labor, and it just gets washed away. And so you got to just get out there and do it again. And the relationship I feel like we have as growers, you know, this kind of journey that we take with the seed is a real representation of our journey with ourselves, you know, and being, you know, being with ourselves in that way to kind of continue to grow and to continue to cultivate ourselves and navigate our course of our lives, you know, and ultimately, like when I think of the seeds is like, you know, we're just kind of holding up, you know, holding pa'a to all the ones that came before, you know, just kind of continuing on. And that's like, you know, seeds represent our humanness in such a way that it just is touching, you know, to grow seed. And so I just encourage everyone who wants to come and grow seed, really grow what you like, you know, grow like, you know, that's the way you can be most successful in farming. You know, I come across growers and, oh, I want to try that. I want to grow this because it can make money. I want to grow this because it grows easy or fast or all these things. And I tell you, it's not, you know, it's not going to work, you know. You know, really try to grow what you're passionate about, and then, you know, that'll kind of lead you to other things. And yeah, so I'll share that much. But thank you all for being here, and mahalo.
Thank you, Breton. Glenn, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, hello
you
everyone. Yeah, okay. Hello everyone, my name is Glenn Tevis. I've been involved in the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative and the Hawaii Seed Growers Network since both of its inceptions. I attended a first Hawaii Seed training in 2010 and met a lot of seedy people that have become lifelong friends. I want to acknowledge the late Kent Wheely, co-founder of Seed Savers, who supported me on this journey. In 2015, he called me and said, I want you to go to the Organic Seed Alliance and I want you to meet my son. I know you folks can work together and I'll be paying all your expenses to be there. And he did that for 2 to 3 conferences. So I've been to the last 3 conferences at his insistence and met growers from all over the map. And we've exchanged a lot of seed. Our farm, Puakala Farms, is named after the native Hawaiian prickly poppy that grew on our homestead when my wife and I started farming on Molokai in 1988. She was a 4th generation homestead farmer. Her family has been farming in Holy Hoa since the 1920s, which is a big challenge because I have my own ways and she has her own ways. I mean, I'm into production line stuff, you know, lean farming, and she goes, get the crop out of the field. So we have about 10 acres. We farm about 3 acres at the most. We focus on bananas for the last 33 years, apple bananas, and we had a 2-acre planting. Last year we cleared out all the bananas because the bunchy top finally caught up to us. But it was a good run harvesting weekly for 33 years. We also grew taro on a small scale and ramped things up in the last 10 years. We grow an assortment of subsistence, market, and seed crops on a small scale, including on vegetables, breadfruit, avocados, peaches, figs, moringa, pomegranate, Suriname cherries, mountain apples, and mango. After attending the seed workshop in Kona in 2010, we started teaching ourselves how to grow seeds, starting with lettuce, Ethiopian kale in 2011. And then we grew a lot of different vegetable crops. We also spent a lot of time developing new varieties and are working with tomato, lettuce, squash, and mustards right now. We've been bringing in the harvest of mustard and lettuce over the last 3 weeks. In a normal year, we wouldn't be able to do this, but we had such a dry winter. If we did this any other year, we would get wiped out. But we took a chance, we pulled it off for a change. We're essentially market gardeners, and growing market crops and seeds together can create its own set of problems. As Evan kind of alluded to, trying to adjust to both is sometimes difficult. Water requirements may be different, as well as harvest times and cleaning out the field. We have been dealing with deer problems for the last 10 years that have gotten really bad, and we just completed fencing 6 acres. I remember a line from the movie classic Milagro Bean Field War, and the line is, "Drastic times call for drastic measures." With climate change and the onslaught of new pests and diseases that seem to be getting worse, the identification and creation of resilient crop varieties is critical if we expect to survive as farmers and residents on these chains of islands in the middle of nowhere. The UH seed collection has a lot of jewels, and it's a good starting point for someone wanting to learn how to grow seeds. There's a lot of uncertainty on whether UH will continue growing these seeds, so farmers have to pick up the slack and write the future. There are also many good varieties from Asia developed for the tropics as well as Africa that we can grow in Hawaii if we learn how to grow it, make selections, and refine our seed production system. Spring is finally here. We got blustery winds, we got trade showers, we got drizzles, and I was really concerned that spring would never arrive because winter never did. With this new normal, we need to adjust how we grow and what we grow and what tools we'll carry in our back pockets to make adjustments. Making mistakes is part of a journey. A friend of mine calls it falling forward. As long as you're moving forward, that's all that matters. I'll just end right there.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. I put in the chat, and maybe Rebecca had earlier, links to Glenn's awesome newsletters, which I highly recommend to you all. And we'll hear from all these guys more on this panel later. Michelle, you want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Hi again, everyone. So as Bertan, my husband, said, we're on the east side of Hawaii. And yeah, it rains a lot over here. So that's been a big challenge for us, saving seed. But we got involved in seed from our good friend Lynn Howe. We were growing just a ton of food. We really were started out as production farmers and growing just everything that we could grow here on the east side. We've been over here for about 22 years. And when I first came over here, folks said to me, you can't grow those crops here. You can't grow those greens, you can't grow those vegetables. And I said, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna find out. And I just took that kind of attitude and went for it and found what I could grow. And soon we outgrew our space, right? Because we're here in Puna, we do have rocky soils, we can't really use tractors and such for farming. So we went up to Waimea. So Waimea is, still on the east side of the island, but up more towards the north side of the island. And that's really the breadbasket that I'm seeing here on the Big Island. And deep soil, just such beautiful sunny days up there. And we were growing all kinds of things, all kinds of awesome things, but one of my favorites were these beets. So we were growing these beets that were these softball-sized beets, and the Natch was just loving them. We were selling so many of them, hundreds of pounds a week, and getting a good amount of money for them, really relying on these as farmers to, on our economic sustainability level. And then one day I couldn't get the seeds. They were gone, not on the marketplace, not anywhere. And I went, oh no. And I realized the responsibility we have as farmers to produce our own seed for what we're relying upon. And so, Lynn had been talking to me for a long time, and we decided that we were going to try getting seed back from beets, which it's a biennial crop and it needs vernalization. We were in Waimea, we were new farmers and or new seed farmers. And one of the great things about being a new seed farmer or a new anything is you're pretty optimistic, right? So you're going to go for it and you're going to try. And that's what we did. And it was pretty fun. We got high tunnels set up there, and we did the vernalization. We grew these big, beautiful softball-sized beets, pulled them out of the field, set up our chest freezers, and got our cedar shavings and followed everything, made them into little stecklings where you cut the tops and you cut the roots about an inch, and you layer them all in your chest freezer with cedar shavings in between. So you're making this like false winter for them. And it was really fun to open that up and check on them and see them all in there chilling. And then we replanted them And those beets grew and grew and grew. And we had like hollow looking beets at the end of it. And they never got pithy. They were always these beautiful big beets, but they didn't go to seed. And but we learned a lot from that, and we had a good time doing it. And at the end, you know, they were so big. You know what we did with these beets? We gave them to our children, and they carved them like pumpkins. And we had so much fun. And this has been one of my greatest successes in saving seed, has been bringing my children into the garden and getting them involved in saving seeds with us. We've always brought all our kids into the field and, you know, picking rocks, picking kale, moving buckets around, fun time in the wheelbarrow too. But the littlest one is not so much into it. She hasn't always really wanted to go out there and work on the farm. But when she sees the seeds and we bring the seeds into the kitchen and lay them out on the kitchen table, she will sit there for hours cleaning seeds and picking seeds. And it's really good. So I want to end this with, you know, this idea about success and failures. When I was a little girl, my mom had this plaque on the wall, and there's just this little poem. We need a little poetry in here somewhere. So I'm going to tell you this poem that my mom had hanging on the wall. It said, "Success is a failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. You may be nearer when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit."
That's great. Yeah, that brings to mind Breton's comment of being you have got to be the most resilient seed. Nancy, you want to introduce yourself and your farm a little bit more?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, definitely persistent. You must be persistent to be a farmer, a gardener, a seed grower, that's for sure. So I came to Hawaii Island in 1976. It was really different than it is now. And over the years from 76 until 98, I lived in lots of different places. And everywhere I lived, I put in a home garden. And some of the most challenging ones were on the ocean front in Kealakekua Bay when I lived there. And then at 3,000 feet up in the forest in Kona, where it never stopped raining. So I got a really lot of experience growing. And then from 80 to 87, 1980 to 87, I had the only nursery in Kona. And when I started that nursery, every plant I had ever grown had pretty much died in my house, but I couldn't get a job. I would go downtown and try to get a job being a waitress or something, and people would say, "Oh, you have too much education. You can't do that." So I ended up buying a nursery and then learning everything about growing tropical and subtropical plants over about an 8-year period. And that was where I fell in love with the diversity of Hawaii that we don't really see too much anymore. You know, here in Kona, we only have Lowe's and Home Depot are our two nurseries. And those plants come from the mainland, mostly, you know, at least 85, 90% of them. And so that great diversity that we used to see here in Hawaii, I think it's still in backyards. I mean, I have a lot of it here on my farm, but it's key to the future. So we bought our farm in 1998. So what's that been, like 23, 24 years now? We're in the Mauka area of Kona at 1,500 feet. This is I'm pretty sure this farm, it's 1.2 acres, was probably one of the malas of the Hawaiians. It was all, it had a wall around it, but no one had ever lived there. And you could just see that this place was garden for a really, really, really long time. And so we decided to create kind of like a home, not just a homestead, but a place for experimentation. So from the time we got there, and we were going to do it organically with no inputs from outside, nothing. If we couldn't figure out how to recycle what we had here, we weren't going to use it. And we needed to build soil because there was not a lot of humus in this soil. So we started experimenting with all kinds of ways to build soil and composting. And then we just started doing trials of everything we could possibly think of. And at that time, I had been, a friend of mine and myself started the Biodynamic Association of Hawaii in the early 1990s. And so doing biodynamic workshops all over Hawaii, I met the most incredible farmers and gardeners that gave me seed. And the seed they gave me was the seed that they had been growing for like from 10 to 30 years. And so I started with this amazing seed from these amazing biodynamic farmers and growers. And I brought it to my farm and I started growing it, and it worked. So over the years, I think my passion here has been to grow crops that I just, exactly what Bertrand said, grow crops that you love to eat, that are resilient, that are disease resistant, that are grow crops that everyone should be growing in their backyards. And so everything I've put on the marketplace are my favorite crops. You know, I'll just give this one story of the Alan Chadwick whole green bean. I got this from Ellen Sugawara on Molokai. When I got it from her in the early 1990s, she had been growing it for like 20 years. So, and she knew Alan Chadwick when he was at Ko'olo and he was developing this bean. So when she left Ko'olo to come to Hawaii with her husband, Jack, she brought this seed with her. So when I got the seed, I started looking at, well, who was Alan Chadwick? And, you know, what was he doing there? And, you know, it turned out like he was such an amazing guy. I mean, he started the whole garden program at UC Santa Cruz that has turned out to be just the most amazing garden program in California. So, you know, every seed, definitely every seed that I grow has a long story. And every seed that I grow has been in Hawaii for a long time. And so if these seeds have the resilience of 20, 30 years of growth, they are going to work for probably almost everybody. But I do acknowledge that Kona, you know, has the opposite weather of the whole rest of the Hawaiian Islands. So we do have a unique place here. But I think if you just stick with growing things that you love to eat and that you love to save and you love to share, I think that will definitely take you far. Right now, my husband is doing a Grapes for Hawaii trial. He is working with a SARE grant, Farmer Rancher grant, to trial 56 varieties of table grapes that all have tropical parents in their parent line. And so we have about half acre of vegetables and half acre of orchard. But a lot of my vegetable plots were taken over the last years to create vineyards. So now we have 5 separate vineyards here. And we're in our 7th year of this trial. And out of the 56 varieties, we have 14 that are stars. They are going to work. So at some point by March 2023, I think we should have some science of table grapes for Hawaii. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to work on that I'm interested in, flowers. Lots of different flowers. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Nancy. I think that some great themes are coming up. Number one, constantly experimenting, trying trying new things, and then, yeah, sticking with these things with stories, things that you love and care about. And we just want to encourage any of you that are attending this, if you know of seeds with interesting long stories here in Hawaii that you would like to share with the Seed Growers Network, or you would like to grow and then sell through the Seed Growers Network, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking for. I think one thing that we wanted to kind of have all of you talk about to some extent, and maybe start off with Glenn, is talking about seasonality and what are some things for folks to keep in mind for what time of year to grow certain types of crops. And it's already come out, I think, with many of you mentioning that, and the new growers as well, that things are getting a little bit less predictable. But what are some considerations for people to think about when it makes sense to try to do things?
Well, I used to say this to my wife, and she just goes nuts when I say that to her. I said, "You never know if you never go," So you just gotta try it. And I keep on thinking about this. For everything, there's a season, but the season is changing, and you have to change. For many crops, you want that dry season when you're harvesting, like beans. But there's a lot of crops where you don't have to have that dry season, like tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, where you're gonna ferment them anyway. You can take them out of the field. You don't need a dry place. But if you're doing beans, you better watch out. And I think a lot of us had that experience with growing beans and having fungus on them and brown and just looked ugly. So that becomes a real problem. Like Nancy, I'm into flowers. I'm doing a lot of different flowers and making a lot of mistakes along the way. I planted a patch of marigolds, and I said, wow, the seeds are getting ready. They're all falling over. Okay. They weren't ready. They were falling over because there was a fungus on the stem, and then now I got all these immature seeds mixed with the mature seeds. You ever tried separating marigold seeds with the wind? It ain't going to happen. I got 3 grocery bags right in the next row. It's like, what am I going to do with this? I mean, I know there's some good seeds in there, but it ain't going to make, it's going to be like 50% and stuff like that. So I think if you look at some of the innovative seed growers in Oregon, 2 examples would be Wild Garden Seed, Frank Martin, and then Adaptive Seed. What's his name now? I almost forgot.
Andrew Still.
Andrew Still. Okay, they all moved into flowers. That's the big thing, and flowers fit into the whole gardening system. Now you're gonna have all these predators and parasites and all these parasitoids coming in and keeping a balance. Everybody's beefing with each other and staying out of your vegetables. And I think that's really an important part of it. So I got some seeds I'm harvesting right now. I'm harvesting the Resina Calendula, which is it has a lot of these oils, and it's really good for making tinctures, probably at the highest concentration of these resins in them. So I'm harvesting right now. Like I try to harvest every week and getting these out. Lettuce, I don't know how many people mentioned about lettuce and having problems with lettuce. I've had the same problem sometimes. I did this summer trial where I selected the most heat tolerant from a cross that Frank Martin made called Manoa Leopard. So I gave him the Manoa lettuce seed, and then he made crosses. He's up to 20 varieties right now. He says, I cannot believe this lettuce is out of this world. So I'm making my own selections. I got heat tolerant lines, about 5 of them. And then I said, okay, I need to see how they grow in winter. So I planted them in winter. Oh, they were beautiful. I mean, outrageous. And so I attend the Organic Seed Alliance in 2018, and I come back and 75% is dead. Okay. It rained for like 3 days, wiped out the seed. I said, wow, at least I got 25% left. And they must be tolerant to rain. That's why they're still alive. So I had that seed. I'm still trying to. I got some planted this year from that batch. So yeah, I mean, with climate change, you don't know. I mean, what I do now is I plant winter crops and summer crops at the same time, except right in the summer slot, that like July to September, because it's just a cooker. I mean, the insects are going to grow faster than anything else. Other than that, all the rest of the year, I grow everything together. I always have my winter crops and my summer crops, and I'm not going to lose everything. I might lose half, but I'm not going to lose everything. So that works really good. Growing the crop to harvest is different from growing the top crop for seed, and you need to understand that. It requires more time and more energy. I think Evan alluded to that, and I've had issues with growing Sierra, which is I guess that's related to canasta, and the guy doesn't bolt, and I'm trying to make crosses, and everything is bolted except that guy. It's like, okay, how can I'm gonna have to go backwards now and plant this guy 2 months earlier, and then plant the rest of them, and maybe they'll cross. And I'm still trying to figure that out. So it's, put it this way, it's an exciting life. There's never a dull moment. Let's see what else. Find out ways to dry seed fast. Okay, ceiling fans, southern facing windowsills, hot storage sheds, old cars. I use a lot of old cars to dry seeds. So far, the 1990 Honda works the best. Okay. Watch out when using artificial heat. Okay, so if you're going to use dehydrators, make sure you have extra temperature probes, like a meat probe and stuff. I cooked a whole batch of Koba green onion seed. I mean, and then 1 year, I usually plant Koba, and that's the only one that flowers. And 1 year we have cold weather, and 3 or 4 different varieties all flower, and they all cross. And I go, all right, I got new varieties. And I cooked the whole batch. So I'm gonna have to do that all over again. The other thing is process the seeds in a timely manner, and don't leave the buckets for a season to raise geckos, cockroaches, and silverfish. Been there, done that, lost a lot of seeds. And seasons change, all springs or summer. I mean, all springs, summers, and winters are not the same. So you have to adjust your methods. You might have to cut back on the water. You want to be able to anticipate. I spend a lot of time anticipating. I think it's going to be a dry winter. Okay, let's watch out, cut back on the water. We use a lot of timers. And if I don't do it right, I can overwater. Right now, I'm overwatering. I got to turn it down this afternoon. There's a lot of resources on Organic Seed Alliance website. Check it out. And that's it.
Awesome. Evan, anything you want to add about seasonality or anything else that you'd like to say about joys and difficulties of integrating seed production into a market vegetable production oriented system, and you also do some educational activities? How can seed be part of educational activities on your farm? Hold on, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah, we got
All
you.
right. So as far as seasonality, yeah, I mean, it's really going to echo what Glenn shared is, I'm over 20 years into growing here on Maui, and it's been about 12 years on our current site. And I've been really excited the past few years of really figuring out our cycles. And now it's like all out the window. And it's like I'm this beginner grower again, having to relearn everything. And so even with seeds, it's like I figured out the cycle. I mentioned, like we kind of save our growing for the summertime and the dry times. And there's all these crops we don't grow seed for that this year, had we done it, it's like we would have been stoked. I mean, we had a rain this week, a little bit of rain this week, but otherwise it's been since December that we've had rain, which has never happened before. I've never experienced that up here. And so it is that like being really open to trying new things, because we can get into summer and have a super rainy summer. I would love to have a super rainy summer, but it wouldn't go well for our seeds if that happens. So it's, yeah, just being really willing to try new things. And as far as, integrating it into a commercial system, I'd say for us, it is more that we've really integrated seed into our educational system more than the commercial system. And, I heard in our breakout group, or it was in the new growers panel, someone mentioned about, seed is 1% of their budget. For us, it might also be 1% of our income coming in. And it's not insignificant actually as a farmer to like get these checks that come in quarterly. And, like when I look at like how much that is in a year, and it's mostly, profit, there's very little expenses associated with that other than my time, it's significant what that offers us as a farmer and a diversified income. But as far as an educational system, our farm is Pono grown farm, and this concept around growing in a right way, growing in a harmonic way. And we kind of incorporate that into all our actions in terms of growing, but we incorporate that into our actions in terms of how we teach and how we educate. And so we have a nature-based preschool and kindergarten on our land with 26 students that participate in seed saving programs here. Most of our seed cleaning is actively done by 8th and 9th graders that come for a residential program in the summertime. So they want hands-on activities. And so we always try and have seed cleaning available for them because it's really fun. Like it's a fun tactile experience. You'll see tomorrow a video of some of our seed cleaning processes, but to be in the process of like, sifting things through screens and winnowing, or like squeezing out tomatoes, is really fun. And like, there's just a lot of laughter and a lot of storytelling that happens. And it's this experience that, really deeply connects all of us to our ancestors, because we only have to go back like 3 or 4 generations, if not 1 generation back, till all of our ancestors were cleaning seed. All of our ancestors were saving seed. And so it's a pretty magical experience to bring alive in children, but even for adults as well. That there's this essentially like a remembrance that happens in that process. And then I also want to just mention it because it's kind of at the foundation of my own seed saving efforts, is looking at just the way the Hawaiian save seed, which is a lot of perennial crops that they worked with, but which is in ground. And I know like as a network here, we are like sending seed into a seed bank and it gets dried down and germination tested and stored. And it's these finite systems that are holding it all together versus like us continuing planting the seeds, is what makes us resilient in a big way. And so just want to call that in because it's even important, when working with the kids, like, or even, our interns or even my workers, is like when we're planting seeds for the sake of saving the seed, we're entering just this deep connective cycle with the earth. And especially like when we know that, hundreds of people, if not more, are going to actually benefit from that seed. That like when I plant that like, single cilantro seed or 100 cilantro seeds for the crop diversity, that it's going to produce thousands of seeds that are going to go out there to Hawaii, and that people are going to get to have a tangible experience with, whether it's eating the crop or actually growing seed themselves. And it's that like these are the more intricate ways that we incorporate that into our educational programming. But really it's that just the fun of it, like the fun hands-on tactile experience that we get to participate in. Thanks.
Breton, you wanna talk to that also with integrating seed into your Go Farm site and educational programs?
Sure. Thanks, Jay. I guess before I jump into that, I kind of want to lean on that, this changing atmosphere and planting seasons. And one of the things that I've come across now and what I'm integrating into my planting systems and with Go Farm and at home and farms that I'm beginning to consult on is really leaning on our nurse crops more and more. These nurse crops are becoming really critical to protect our crops. you know, and Evan touched on it a bit, and these you know, these canoe crops, these propagative crops, they're kind of the backbone of everything that we want to do. So, you know, really encouraging, you know, in order to have success, you know, I share with, you know, folks now, plant for shade. I plant a lot now for shade and protection, from wind and from, you know, heavy, you know, intense sunlight and intense heat that we're having now in the summertime. But being resilient and flexible and fluid, that these crops can then be cut down in the winter for your sunlight. And that kind of flexibility on your farm is really critical, where you can still maintain some control of your crop and your cycles and what you have going on, because again, as we're finding, it's like a new game, it's a new atmosphere that we're dealing with. So yeah, I just want to you know, share that bit of what we're really starting to integrate into our planting systems, is really leaning on these nurse crops and the importance of them. And a lot of them tend to be these native species that are so resilient, and they really have that that, you know, that energy to protect these more delicate European annual crops that you know, we all love to eat and are delicate and tasty to our palate. Yeah, they need protection as things are changing. As far as integrating seed into the Go Farm curriculum, I really enjoy getting students involved in seed right from the get-go. You know, kind of as soon as we start off, I always have things to harvest. Almost always try to have some seed to harvest and get right into it. And usually when we're, you know, in the classroom, I often try to pass seed around, so that whenever we're having any type of discussion, people can be busy with cleaning seed. You know, I tell students, like, you know, farmers are always doing something, and you know, you can listen to a conversation, and you know, to echo what Evan was saying, the tactile experience of cleaning seed it's ancient in us. You know, it's in our DNA. You know, when we start touching and moving our hands through seeds and cracking pods and sifting, these kinds of things are like, they're inherent to our being, and it's like medicine for us. So that kind of experience, I think, is really valuable to introduce people to. And then the other way that I'd like to introduce it with Go Farm is I'll try to, like last year, for instance, an example would be, we took the Kohala soybean, this soybean that's been developed in Hawaii for, you know, multiple generations, and we grew it and compared it to like a Johnny's seed. You know, so the students actually harvested this seed. They actually harvested it in class. They put it in their fields and got to compare it to other seed. And so, you know, introducing folks to from seed to seed, essentially, you know, harvesting the seed, putting it in the ground, comparing it to other types of seed, and then being able to take that seed and remarket it. I think that, you know, walking them through that process is immensely valuable and inspiring. And so, you know, I try to incorporate it in that way. And then I'm just always giving things away. You know, whatever seed we clean, I always send folks home with some. And, you know, let them try it out. And, you know, this past year, for instance, you know, in February, we had our first ag exposure cohort, and you know, got to send everyone home with pigeon pea seed. And now those folks who have made it to Ag Excel are coming back, and we're planting more pigeon pea seed, but they're all like, oh, I went home and my pigeon peas are already this big, and you know, excited. And so now they can identify these plants and you know, these types of nurse plants that they can start to incorporate in their gardens. But yeah, that tactile and that touching, and then, you know, the variety trials, you know, I think are kind of where we can incorporate them into our educational aspect there at Go Farm.
Wonderful, thanks. Well, now I think we're going to bring the new seed growers that are still around on here as well, and open things up for kind of questions and discussions. We've got um, 40 minutes available. Yeah, just to see what kind of questions folks have. Feel free to either put them in the chat, or you can go down to, is it in reactions? Yeah, raise your hand and down in the little bar at the bottom, you can press reactions and raise your hand, and we can unmute you to ask a question. Yeah, somebody was asking Breton, what were the results of the bean trials?
Well, one result was that I don't want to do bean trials anymore. I don't want to grow a bunch of beans, but it inevitably happens. But yeah, the daylight neutral wing bean was just hands down like 10 notches above everything else that I grew out. So that was exciting. And then when you find something like that is so successful, it is inspiring. Now we got all that seed. It's on our kitchen table, getting put in different places for grow out. Yeah, so that was the results of that. And then the other result is I'm going to send all the rest of the beans to Glenn so he can grow them.
All right. I think that just your mention of day length neutrality, that didn't really come up in our discussions of seasons, but that's definitely something to watch out for when you're growing things. Is, are they day length sensitive? And Roselle comes to mind, or the hibiscus. Somebody wrote me recently and they were excited they got the seed, and can I plant it now? And it's like, sure, you can plant it, but it's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until like September or later, until the days start getting short again. So there are certain crops that there's a season that you're going to have better, or you're going to have different results based on the amount of day length. So that's something to keep in mind. Somebody is asking, what is the 30-second method for saving pepper seed that Bobby mentioned? Oh, I think, was that tomatoes maybe that Glenn had turned you on?
Yeah, he told us how to do it in 30 seconds, and we'll never forget it. That's what the 30 was. Yeah, it was about.
Although, I mean, pepper seeds really don't take very long.
Eat everything but the seed in 30 seconds, and you're good to go.
But it sounded like you guys were doing the kind of technique where you can squeeze the seeds out onto like newspaper or paper towels or something like that. And Glenn had told you probably a different technique that had worked out better. What was that technique, Glenn?
Yeah, ferment them.
Ferment them, yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is you can just smash it, but make sure you make a hole in the tomato before you smash it, or else it's gonna fly all over the place. You have seeds going all over. So I think that's the important one. Just squeeze it and do a fermentation. It doesn't take a whole lot of energy. I think Marielle has a presentation on that we did with our citizen science project. So I think we need to maybe do a video on the different seeds that people can, be helpful to everybody. Yeah, peppers are kind of easy. You don't really have to ferment. I just cleaned them out. I sent some to the seed growers recently, and I couldn't believe I had 100% germination. And the average, the baseline, the minimum is 60%. In order to sell seeds, peppers are 60% germination. So that is really important for Hawaii seed growers. If we're going to get germination rates of 99% or 90%, this is the benefit that people will have in buying Hawaii grown seed.
I have a question for the group. I was wondering, so we've been talking about really growing seeds, focusing on crops that we really enjoy eating. So if I were to find, like, I found a wonderful okra from Baker Creek. It's called Jing Orange. It is just the most beautiful okra. It is super prolific. It is delicious. I didn't even know I liked okra, and I love okra now. Anyway, and I saved tons of seed from it. But what are the parameters in which we can just purchase a seed off of Baker Creek and then grow it out and then offer it on the Hawaii Seed Growers Network? Like, what is that okay?
We have some protocols around that, and we like to see at least 3 generations of seed that you've saved in your home garden or at your farm from that one seed that came to the mainland. And we're really hoping that in those 3 generations that you can, really have your eyes on that crop and notice what has changed. If you can identify what's changed for you and you can start to see those adaptations coming out, then that's really the key.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really helpful. And then as far as do I have any responsibility in calling Baker Creek and finding out if they're okay with me growing it? Like, where are we at with being able to source these seeds from all over the world and then taking it on, growing out these 3 generations and then marketing it, because it does well in Hawaii. And I can't remember, I think it was Glenn that was talking about, we really have such an opportunity with African crops, Asian crops, and as we acquire those, is it okay for us to just start growing them, or do we have some due diligence that we need to do in just honoring where that seed came from?
I don't think so. I mean, we're looking for varieties that grow well in Hawaii. It would be good to grow it with other varieties to see how well it does. I mean, to me, in Hawaii, the gold standard is the Filipino ladyfinger that's been in Hawaii for a while, that in the Filipino community that does really well. You can grow it to like 6-8 inches and it's still tender. Some of the other varieties, if you get it too big, you'll be real stringy. And other than that, it's a really easy crop to grow. Okra is really one that you want to start off on because you just let it grow to maturity and make sure it doesn't fall on the ground before you harvest it.
It's so fun, and it's so fun with kids too. They love it.
Yeah. Everybody can just go twist, the seed heads. I mean, the okras. No, I don't think there is. I mean, we just want to make sure that the variety is a superior variety that grows well in Hawaii. I mean, it may have a different taste. That orange color is kind of really attractive. And we haven't really done a whole lot of okra trials in Hawaii. I mean, Clemson Spineless was a standard for a long time. I have one from Taiwan that I'm kind of waiting to bust out as well. But yeah, I mean, search it out, grow a bunch of stuff, find the good ones. And if the farmers become successful, we become successful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that, there are many varieties today, and more varieties are plant variety protection. And those you cannot grow to seed and sell that seed. You can grow those varieties for yourself. You can save the seed for yourself to replant, but that it can't go any further than that. So the example of that is like the Prospero basil that's on Johnny's, that's downy mildew resistant, and the Obsession basil from Rutgers University that's downy mildew resistant. Those 2 basils are just, I still have that. They're going on their 3rd year here in my garden. So with years of rain, but there was a grower somewhere who spent many years developing and trialing and, selecting downy mildew resistance. And we should be doing that too with varieties that we can grow, because that is I don't know if that's a problem in other places. I mean, I guess Glenn could speak to that, but downy mildew resistance is a big thing for Kona. And So we all want to be growing plants and selecting for disease resistance for the future, and more. But you know, as you look down through the seed catalogs, that there will be a little symbol there if it has a plant variety protection patent on it, which will be for, I think, 20 years.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. Melissa, you had mentioned Cherokee lettuce. That's a PVP. You can't sell that seed. Okay, it's a good variety. Magenta is another good one closely related to that. But yeah, I mean, I almost got Cherokee mixed up with all my lettuce in a lettuce mix, and I just freaked out because I would have to throw away a pound of seed. So got to watch out for that. But what Nancy was talking about with basil, the UH extension agents developed a Fusarium resistant basil back about 20 years ago. And what they did was grew a whole field, and the ones that survived, they planted again and planted again, and they got Fusarium resistant basil. So downy mildew is a major problem. And what's happening right now is the resistant varieties that we brought to Hawaii, the weather changed and it's not resistant. So we're gonna have to screen varieties of basil to be able to have, downy mildew is a major problem.
Glenn, I think you know, these issues that are coming up about intellectual property, and Rachel was asking if there's a publication or a guide that shares varieties. And in my experience, there are often times where it's not really particularly obvious. I know there is like a database somewhere, and there are cases like Nancy's talking about where you know, it is obvious in the seed catalog, but there are lots of times that it's not. And personally, I wouldn't get real worried about it on the scale that we're talking about in Hawaii. I mean, I wouldn't be like flagrantly doing something like Prospera where you know that it's got intellectual property protection on it. But if they're not making it easily known to you, then I think I wouldn't be real worried about it. If you're a breeder and you're, you know, selling tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of things, I think I would get more concerned about it.
Yeah, good.
Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Tyler's got an easy one for you guys. What is the envisioned future for Hawaii's seed system?
I can touch in on that. I don't know that I can answer it for everybody or for the Seed Growers Network, but it kind of ties into what we're talking about with some of these breeding concepts. You know, Hawaii has a long history of seed breeding and developing new varieties that have been useful all over the world, but particularly useful for growers here in Hawaii. And I know for myself, I really envision a seed system that is more resilient, which is like one that, you know, growers here in Hawaii can have access to seed. You know, that as a commercial farmer, I know myself is like I'm importing thousands of dollars a year in seed that's grown somewhere else for different conditions. And so I know I really envision a seed system that a good lion's share of that will be locally produced, that we can actually create a local economy around seed, and ideally even the exporters of seed. The state of Hawaii can export seed. And with that is, you know, looking at this Hawaii Seed Growers Network, I kind of see this as a stepping stone towards deeper breeding programs. Right now, I kind of feel like we're trying to like produce enough seed to meet demand, and while demand's growing, then we're trying to keep up with the demand. And ultimately, I see that, you know, we're kind of building something that that inspires more and more people to grow seed, and ultimately inspires seed breeders to step forward, because the universities aren't doing it anymore. They're they're not taking the time to do it. And it takes a lot of financial resources to actually do breeding programs. And so I know as a seed growers network, we kind of have, the seed business that we're creating side of things, and then, still working on grant funding to create programs that are breeding related, education related. What I've really seen as the future of seed growing is that more and more people are involved in it. And that's people from the grower side of things, the consumer side of things, and then also from, I don't know if it's just nonprofit sectors, but like people doing work to further breeding programs. And that might be, a nonprofit element that is really supporting breeding projects so that we can develop more resilient varieties. Because I know when I think about growing seed right now, I'm doing what's easy. And then ultimately, we're putting up a greenhouse soon. And it's like, oh, I can put up a greenhouse and I can exclude pests and I can grow peppers and then I can sell seed for the peppers. But this seed is still going, for most people, it's going out in the open. And so until we develop varieties that are really resistant to the pest and disease pressure, we're not fully expanding our resiliency to the potential that we have. And that's what I see us doing. It's just continuing to expand our resiliency, expand our agricultural economy, and as we move into the future.
I just wanted to just say real quickly that tomorrow we're going to have a few people from CTAR kind of giving some updates on breeding going on, some extension agents talking about participatory breeding projects. And so, yeah, I think please come tomorrow. And I think that, yeah, I think it's exciting, this kind of new cadre of extension agents, yeah, really wanting to interact with growers and do participatory work. And I think that's an important part of the future of the seed system is this breeding happening, but on a very participatory level. Go ahead, Glenn.
I think Haley mentioned something. I mean, I think the direction we're moving is connecting with everybody, okay? Connecting with rural communities that are isolated, with little programs in preschool and elementary school, and home gardeners, new gardeners. I know tomorrow we'll be talking about the citizen science project that we had, and that was really exciting. Connecting with people who are just starting to learn how to grow stuff. So I think it's about elevating everybody, bringing everybody up in terms of, okay, this is how you grow seed, this is how you grow food, and this is how you grow seed. And I think I see us moving in this direction in the grants that we're working on right now to just connect everybody into this giant seed web.
Haley, I saw you responding. You were saying that that's every grower's dream. What's every grower's dream? To be growing all of their own seed?
Oh, I just put the dream for the future is for everyone to be growing seed, kind of like what Glenn said.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a little bit, like I said, only 1% of our business. I was just talking to Debbie Milliken from Iolani and like teaching students how to do it too, and just everyone. So like even if you're just a home gardener and you're growing a little bit of things, if you learn how to save your own seed, then you don't have to worry about buying seed again. Yeah, just for everyone to learn about the importance of it, because that's not something I knew before farming. Like I didn't realize the importance of growing or saving seed.
I tried to ask a question about in the chat, but chat goes by kind of fast. I don't know where to look for.
Oops. Are you there?
Hi. Oh, can you hear me?
Sorry. Yep.
Sorry. I'm hoping to ask, I asked a question in the chat, but I think that it's the chat goes by kind of fast. I'm looking for help, resources, how to learn to grow in a higher elevation. Because I've got used to growing, 300, 400 feet Hawaii Kapa'a area. And then moving to 3,700 feet on Maui, it's a much different environment. And I'm having to relearn a lot. I'm wondering if there's resources, or how do I know the higher elevations? I'm sure there's lots of farmers in Hawaii growing at higher elevations too. And there are some differences and some similarities.
Evan, what's your elevation?
We're at 2,100 feet, which is significantly lower. Richard Silva is up at elevation in Kula, and he's actually also a seed grower who has, him and his wife Pamela have a tremendous amount of experience, Katie. And if you can check in with me directly, I can connect you to. I'm not sure how close you are together in proximity. He's definitely above 3,000 feet. And yeah, and so I can connect you to, and then there's another farm, Lapa'au Farm, which is up a Window Road, so different ecosystem, but he's also up at about 3,500 feet. Michael and Lauren Marchand have a Lapa'au Farm. They don't do that much education through their farm at the moment, but I know you could follow them on Instagram, and they do post a lot educationally in terms of what they're doing, but they're growing most things. They're actually at a great elevation for growing a lot of the temperate climate crops.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, this is Nancy. I think the exciting thing about being at 3,700 feet is you could possibly grow beet seed up there. You could possibly grow, I don't know about cabbage or chard, but these would be things that you could try that no one else would be able to do. So I think there's so much possibilities there. Waimea on the island of Hawaii is about 3,600. So there's that's our major growing center here on Hawaii Island for food production is Waimea. And so that means that really a lot of different crops do really, really well in that area. So connecting with, I can also help connect you with some Waimea growers that you could chat with and see. But I think you have, you could be easily growing onion to seed. You could, yeah, you have a lot of possibilities. Pardon me?
Shallots.
Shallots. Oh, yeah. Yeah, shallots.
Michaela, are you still on here? Did you want to share with folks a bit about educational resources and a bit more about using the seed commons? Or Rebecca?
Just checking to see if Michaela is here. I know she was stepping away to grab some dinner.
Okay.
A few hours ahead of you all, so just give
Yeah.
us a moment here to calibrate.
All right. Any other questions anybody's got while we're waiting on those guys? And then here in a bit, then we'll wrap things up here in the big Zoom room, and we'll have breakouts by island. And I think, Rebecca, will that happen where people can like self-select their island? How does that work?
Yeah, we can make it so that folks can
Awesome.
choose which island they're part of,
Perfect.
or that they're on, and you could even island hop technically
Yeah.
if you wanted to. Pop in and out.
Jay, someone is asking about the mentorship program.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna see if Michaela was gonna talk about, but basically the applications for this coming year, 2022, are not, it's full, or the deadline has passed, but Michaela's gonna tell us more.
You all are having a seed summit at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. So I've been listening and multitasking, frying some garlic. and waiting for my window to come and share a little bit. So I'm sorry, Jay, I was sort of half
That's
hearing
okay.
that, and then I heard my ears buzz. Yeah, so I think the question was kind of around the course and the mentorship program. And I know some of you, I recognize some faces here. It's nice to see you all who have been in the course, and to hear your experience firsthand is probably the most valuable. This course is taught through the Organic Seed Commons. So just a little bit of an overview backing up. The Organic Seed Commons is the online space where this event is being hosted. It's a couple years old of a platform for us at OSA, and we created it as a platform to be able to teach online courses, but also to create this more dynamic social co-learning space. And so we do have conferences there, like the Seed Summit, and we had the Organic Seed Growers Conference in the Commons. We also teach the online course, and the course itself has a synchronous component, which many of you participated in, which runs for 6 months long and has a lot of peer-to-peer learning engagement, applied learning on the farm where you're working or running your own farm, exercises, activities, season-long projects that are shared. And then we also have guest lectures and the Mentorship Network as well. So each student in the course is paired with a seed mentor. In some cases, it's a mentor that they're working on their seed production farm as an intern. And in other cases, some of the students are working on their own and then have an aligned paired mentor who then provides guidance and support, ideally somebody within the region. And it was really wonderful to have a robust network from Hawaii that Jay coordinated, and some of you all, like Nancy and Glenn, were also mentors in the network. And we're wanting to kind of grow this model nationally to have, more mentors paired up regionally. The course for this year is, well, we received 150 applicants already, and we can only really do justice of managing a learning space for about 40 per year. And so we've also created this other track, which you are welcome to follow. And it could be maybe something that you try this year if you don't wind up in the full course. The other track is an asynchronous course. So it's basically the same modules and content of the courses that we've taught previously, and you can watch them on your own time and follow along, and sort of, it's a good option if you're a very busy farmer and aren't really ready to commit to the amount of time to join live sessions and to complete homework and participate fully. And that will still be open for an unlimited number of people to join. And it'll be an asynchronous online seed course in the Organic Seed Commons. I'm sure Rebecca already put it into the chat. But the Mentorship Network, was there a specific question about the Mentorship Network, Jay? We are also looking for more mentors all the time, and it's really an important role, having that one-on-one, somebody who is available and committed to answering questions, having site visits, supporting you when you run into troubleshooting how to clean pepper seed in 30 seconds, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, I think the question was, just unless I'm mistaken, but I think the question was about the course that all the new growers did last time. So yeah, one option, because that's full for this year, is to do the asynchronous course, or be patient and wait for 2023. And then Rebecca's posting lots of other resources, and we'll be posting some other resources that have come up throughout the day.
I would also add to that real quickly, Jay, that we plan to continue teaching this course into the future, and we're sort of we have a very engaged evaluation process that we're going through with participants. It's very participatory, that will help keep refining the course as it moves forward. And one of the things that we've heard from some of the graduates of the course is that after taking this 6-month training, there's also this need for the next level of how do I actually implement all of this? How do I get a contract and how do I manage that? And how do I actually, create integrate this into the economics of my farm? And so we are actively exploring models for sort of the 2.0 of the next round of students as they're, finish the online course. And there's also been a lot of interest in shorter special topic courses. So like we just piloted a course that was on seed entrepreneurship, and we're planning to apply to Beginning Farmer Rancher for another round of funding to create short courses on just seed entrepreneurship in 2 weeks. And this would be more kind of like personalized road mapping of your business and having the input and support to help figure out the economic side of what you're doing. The other topics that have come up have been things like seed cleaning or plant breeding or seed pathology as special topics that we're hoping to create more short courses in the future.
That's great. And those are things that we'll all do our best to let you all know about. And if you join the Organic Seed Commons, both the larger commons and the Hawaii group on there, that you'll be that'll be a great way to stay privy to those opportunities or following Organic Seed Alliance on Instagram would be good ways to hear about these great educational opportunities coming up. Well, it has been a full day for us already. I think, and it looks like we've got some folks dropping off, but let's go ahead and unless there's any burning other things coming up right now for everyone, let's break out into the islands. And again, it's just an informal, like, oh, hey, how you doing? I already know you. Or, oh, you're on that island, never met you before. Just hang out a little bit, and then we'll start back up tomorrow at 2:00 with another full afternoon of presentations and learning. So to those of you I don't see you in the Oahu room, have a great rest of your afternoon, and thanks again so much for coming, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.